Welcome to the Detour, where we stop making the show for a second and talk about the show.
And become a wolf pack.
The wolfing path.
Here's my thing about whatever the fuck we just did, is that that's not even like a previous inside joke we all had to find. That's just for tape. That's just happening right now. That's kind of how we're all feeling, because last weekend was our first ever live show. WonderCon 2025. Thank you so much.
WonderCon, yes. WonderCon.
We're gonna get invited to fucking Furry Fest. Keep talking like this, which I'm not against.
I was gonna say, is it bad that I'm into that?
It's not a bad thing.
I already have a booth, you guys.
The fans.
That would be a great place to run a one-shot where all of you only play Capras or swords.
That would be adorable.
Yes.
Could be fun.
Wait, so Capras are the deer people, swords are the snake people?
Lizard people, yeah.
Oh, okay. Those are the only two that we have that are
Reptile
like
people.
anthro.
And there's
Yeah,
ram
yeah.
people too, right?
It's all sort of like
cat
ram,
turtle.
sheep, goat,
Got it.
deer.
Oh, yeah, and
Horned
the
furries.
turtle falls under
Yeah,
the...
and so like anything that's a reptile is a sword. Like, yeah,
The vibes are vibing.
absolutely.
Hell
Thank
yeah.
you so much, Bex, for getting us back on track. Yeah, I think let's start with our live show, guys.
Yeah, let's talk about our live show. We did it.
We did it. We really did a live show. It was awesome. Thanks again to everyone who's listening to this right now who came out to see us. There was more than 0 of you. That's crazy.
There was actually like a grip of people there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they were having fun.
It was so fun. You guys heard the live callouts that everybody got so into so quickly.
They locked in a way that I was not expecting.
We were not
We were not
prepared.
locked in. I gotta say it. Us as a cast at that point, we were not locked in. Y'all really picked up the slack for all
They
of us.
really did. Because, like, even just rolling our initiatives, they were, like, calling it out. It was great.
It was on
incredible.
every D20 roll.
It was phenomenal.
It was
Not
more
just the
than
D20s.
It was more than D20s. It was every time they rolled damage, which didn't scale the same.
Yeah, which was great.
really funny.
It was kind
Okay.
of incredible, though.
Lame. So good. And you could hear the joy in their voices. They got to do it.
Yeah.
Like, they were,
Yeah,
And there were so many inside jokes because there were people there who had
Yes.
listened to the show.
Ring
Like,
around
they
the train day.
They
So
inserted
good.
Gordon into
They literally did.
That was so
That was
sick.
so
Yeah,
wild.
can we start there actually? Can we talk
Yes.
about your one-shot characters a little bit?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I feel like we slung them together so fast that we were like, name, race, class, you have some bonds, let's do it.
Exactly.
Yeah, we decided on characters within like 20 minutes
Yeah.
of talking.
Yeah.
It took us until on the day of the live show to remember that we had established something in the world where last names are related to owners.
Yeah. So it was designed to be like loosely canon. It definitely takes place in New Prosper with the same amount of things. But also, if we were playing our normal game, I don't know that I would have made a character named Balthazar, Master Wizard and Architect of the Lower Pit.
So good.
I
So
love
funny.
the version of that where it is someone just named Balthazar, but the rest was a title that they chose
Yeah.
for
Oh,
themselves.
100%.
Which feels very Balthazar.
It does feel very Balthazar.
So yeah, that
good.
guy. Ooh boy.
That I want him to come
What
back.
is the lower pit?
the mines?
So that's sort of the thing that I was designing that was like semi-canon is like, so that's a funny name for a live show one shot where people don't have to know what's going on. But if you do know what's going on in the show, you know about the pit.
Yeah.
So it might mean something.
Yeah.
But he built just the... That's also pretty hilarious that somebody else built the rest of the pit and he was like, and I will build the lower part. Everyone will know my contribution, the lower part.
The fact that that guy was judging a skate competition.
So funny. Well, because he wanted to be cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
He wanted the
right. Yeah, I
Ratitude.
He wanted to
see.
steal the Ratitude.
Yeah.
Speaking of Ratitude, let's talk about you guys.
Yeah.
Sick.
Sick.
Yeah.
Obsessed with the darkness.
Yeah.
Yeah,
funny.
I was Neil. Originally Neil Grigsby as a sort of reference to my friend Blake, who has a similar last name.
Amazing.
But then we realized that last name didn't work. So then it was just Neil, but you can call me the Darkness. When I was like playing around with it, I was going to give him we're all supposed to be teens. So I was going to give him sort of like a teen voice. I was going to be more like this. And then I don't know what happened. I did.
Inspiration struck is what
Inspiration
happened.
struck, and I my voice was the voice of a 45-year-old person.
But it was
Which
like
was
Snape.
great.
It was like...
It was Riff Raff.
It was
met
Riff
Snape.
Raff. Yeah.
Yeah, it was literally the voice that Ian did as Riff Raff
It's
in the Rocky
so
Horror
good.
Show that you used to do.
Yes,
The lore about Ian.
I put potentially the voice of a 150-year-old being on a 16-year-old dark witch.
I appreciate
correct.
Reed's been quoting, I appreciate your appreciation to her boyfriend
No shit.
all week. No cap.
That makes me happy.
I appreciate your appreciation.
That's fucking
You're an
great.
earworm, Ian.
Delicious.
I love that.
So good.
And I
So good.
fucking won.
I know. I was
did.
so
You did.
happy you won. The darkness.
Committed
Darkness
so
wins.
hard to winning. It was so good.
Well, yeah, what did you? What was? Because you were just like, I will not let the win. Like you're like, I have to win.
I supported what Balthazar was doing
Yes.
in general, but I would not let him screw up the skate competition.
Yeah, you were like,
respect that.
I do want darkness to engulf the world, but not if it means I lose the skate competition right now.
Yeah,
It's like,
exactly.
you can win later. This is my time.
So
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I tweaked the skateboarding game between the episodes where we played it
Yeah.
on the Wandering Path and the live show.
Yeah.
Sometimes when we play something and like it's on tape and I don't want to cut it from the show, but like there was a couple things about the game I would have made better.
Well, it's
Yeah.
also like teens in a garage versus like it's like the Elite Four versus like a regular gym battle. Like,
Yeah.
you're not allowed to go buy items when you're in the Elite Four. You could imagine that the rules for the skateboard competition would be a little broader.
That's totally true.
To me, it makes sense that a bunch of semi-adults who don't skateboard will have not as much skills as teens
Yeah.
who do it as their thing.
Oh, that's a great point too. Yeah, the vision in my mind too of our characters rolling up to a warehouse with 3 teens sitting on a cooler and going like, "Can we skate to earn your trust?" is still one of the funniest things that's ever
know.
happened.
It was very anime. It was very JRPG.
So much.
It was very video game. It was
Yes.
not the realism we
No.
promised at the start of the campaign.
Did we promise
promise
realism?
that.
Good. I'm so glad we're on the same page about this.
I
was
think we
like,
probably
what?
have talking turtles and triplets with swords. And there's no triplets with swords in the real world. That's fake. That's made up.
That never happens.
Except the famous Manhattan sword triplets.
No, those ones.
I
Those,
forgot
yes.
about the Manhattan sword triplet. What about you, Mayana? You want to tell us about
Tracy Turner.
Tracy Turner.
Tracy.
Well, that was
Tracy
Sophie
Turner.
Turner.
Sophie Turner.
Not to be confused with Elizabeth Turner from Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh my god, that's so funny.
And not to be confused with Sophie Turner, the real person.
Yeah.
Wait.
Which,
Wait,
Sophie
real
Turner
person?
from Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
woof, woof. So,
What is this bit?
I
We're just a pack of wolves now.
today. You know what we have in the recording for it? We have this beautiful lamp in the center,
It's
and it
giving
kind of
moon.
feels like the moon.
It's giving moon.
It's giving awoo.
It's giving the fake moon that turned Goku into a giant monkey, even though the moon wasn't out.
Yeah.
Is that a GT reference?
Yeah.
Wow, them
Incredible.
after my own heart.
Wow.
Oh my goodness. Yes, Tracy Turner. She was loosely inspired by Reese Witherspoon's character from Election.
Amazing.
Specifically from Incredible.
Yeah.
I'm
she
even more glad that I referenced Reese Witherspoon with that terrible.
Exactly. Very much. And she, what was her justification for a Turner was someone who we were like,
Just like wood turning.
wood turning, right. But yeah, she's the lamest person on the face of the planet.
Canonically.
Canonically, the lamest person maybe have ever lived.
And it saved us all.
And it saved the world. And that was not, it was funny. That was not really my intention with the character, but that's what it became.
Yeah.
And I love that about her.
Incredible.
She was iconic.
I
Truly
love her.
the most iconic.
Yeah. I mean, the dice started telling a story, and you were like, okay, dice.
Yeah.
Let's see where we're going here.
I loved it. Well, that and like when you, Misha, were like, yes, the ratitude. I was like, I know exactly what I must do. If you want cool energy, I have bad news for you. And it was also fun because, like, again, it wasn't intentional, but like, especially seeing how cool all the other characters were, I think it was good contrast.
Yeah.
And also, I love being the butt of a joke.
You know what I liked about it is like you're doing a one shot. You got 4 people. You're technically in the one shot party.
Yeah.
But like because we weren't friends, I was kind of wondering how it was going to shuffle out in terms of like, are we all going to become this like dynamic foursome by the end? And like, is that going to work? And I like that it sort of didn't happen that way.
Yeah.
You know, it was just like we're all skating. People were kind of flirting because they're all horned up teens.
Yeah, we're horned up skateboard teens.
And then there was this thing, and like we all kind of fought individually, and then like you did it. I just really like that we didn't sort of shoehorn having to become
Yeah.
No.
a team with the power of
well,
friendship.
and the fact that, like, at the start of combat, I was like, if you do points during combat, you can still win the skate competition.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
And
I was
fucking
trying to
did.
keep up that competitive atmosphere as well. Yeah.
Yes.
which was really good.
And I said it on the show, but like, it's fun when D&D has a winner.
Yeah, it's true.
That's so funny.
So
yes.
two things happened for me. One was I got to successfully flirt with every single other party member.
Funny.
And that's a gold
You
star.
were-
And that's a gold
Yeah.
and also a classic theater kid move.
Yeah.
So true.
Squat to Atara.
Squat Mata Tuatara Shepherd. Oh
my God.
Squat.
Squat.
Great Australian accent, by the way.
Yeah,
I didn't
thank
say it on
you.
stage. I did not know you had that.
It's always in my back pocket. I went to a camp that had the entire arts and crafts staff was Australian.
Incredible.
So I just sat there for 2 weeks and listened and then was like, I can do that. And tried to
Amazing.
convince them I was Australian. It worked until my sister walked in.
Oh, that's so funny.
That's so funny.
Like one of my favorite things in the world is like how close and how far a New Zealand and Australian
Oh,
accent can be.
yes.
Because New Zealand is just Australian if the Australian can't stop smiling.
Those are such tricky accents. I respect you so much for
So
being
yeah,
able to
so
do that.
let's come back to squat.
Right, back to squat. Squat. Squat came to be because I like to name things in such a way that makes Misha cringe. Yeah,
It was all
absolutely.
about the legally distinct musical titles.
100%.
Incredible.
So, Squamata is the order of the iguana, and Tuatara is its own reptile that is the last remaining one of its order. And so
love that.
Squat is a combination of two reptiles that each have a parietal eye because having 3 eyes was just too rad to pass up.
Yeah.
Incredible.
And I got to make the little moonroof thing.
Yeah, I'll talk about this in a second, but this is the first time we've ever had PCs that were a Kappa and a Saurid, so we did kind of have to like retrofit some inheritance traits into the characters really quick.
Fun.
I didn't use any of them. They didn't come up.
And so at the last second, I had to remember that we have last names that have to do with our parents' careers. And so Squat's family, they're shepherds. All the way out on the edge, they wrangle insects.
That's adorable.
Like giant insects or small?
No, like
insects?
little insects, like they're like insect farmers.
It's like a bee farmer.
Yeah.
That's so cute.
In my head, it was cricket flour.
Cricket. Ooh. Wait,
yeah.
what is that?
It's like you grind up crickets and you turn it into flour. It's
Oh,
make
wow.
food with it.
Extra
I didn't
protein.
know about that.
I love cricket flour.
It's gonna be
actually.
really big in the next like couple
Now.
decades.
I'll bet.
Yeah.
I'll bet. I'll bet. Terrifying.
So it was originally Squee.
Squeeze.
But then once there were 2 first names, I was like, I can just combine those 2, and now it's Squat.
So good.
Squatty.
So brilliant.
Squatty. Beam me up, Squatty.
Horrible.
Basically, I really wanted to be a reptile, and I really wanted to be a horny theater kid.
And you did that.
Which I was reminded that horny theater kid is redundant.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
So it was perfect.
Yeah.
I got to wear this terrible little fedora with a little feather on it.
Funny. The feather. I see the feather so clearly in my mind. It's like a quail feather. It
is.
Yeah, I knew it. I just knew it. I don't know why
so
I knew it, but I
silly.
did. I just saw
What
it.
else would it be?
I don't know.
Exactly.
Exactly.
I'm like, I don't honestly know the difference between a fedora and a trilby, but Squat would.
There you go.
Yeah,
there
for
you
sure.
go.
Squat would
Unfortunately, I do.
argue in the green room about it.
my
Oh,
gosh.
for sure.
Squat doesn't argue about anything.
I was surprised at how cool Squat ended up being
Yeah.
because I was prepared to be the Tracy Turner of
That's
the group.
so funny. And then I took that.
And then you did, and
then
I
you
was
had to
like,
be
keep
cool
it,
instead.
keep it. You are perfect at this.
The
You're
dice
winning.
told the story.
All your fake theater show names.
That was incredible, by
Thank
the way.
you.
I know that you were doing that for like an hour before the show.
Only 20 minutes.
So good.
It
Hey,
was
I
like
mean,
an hour.
It was like
Bex.
an
It was like an hour.
what was the name of our skateboard guest star character, the NPC from the teens? What was Ash? No, I
Radithor?
Andrew.
Andrew.
Because they had all their stuff written in like 20 minutes before we.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
true, too. Well,
I got that list. I
Yeah.
literally
So
texted
good.
Kristen and I was like,
Yeah.
"Can I have the list?" And Kristen was like, "Just make it up." And I'm like, "No,
No, I need the
want
ones
to
you
torture
wrote."
Ian."
Yeah, no,
Give me
and
the
we
list.
want it to be the
Fuck.
same, so it sounds like teens across the city use the same slang for some reason.
Exactly.
Funny.
It is really fun, just like now knowing as the show goes forward that there is a strong and vibrant skate scene in the
New
city
Prosper,
Yeah.
is really incredible as all of this other shit is going on, that there are junior pro tournaments.
I mean, we have
in
the
the city.
Olympics
It's
for like we have the
incredible.
BMX games and
Yeah,
stuff.
right.
Like it is just incredible as like a
Feels
really
good.
funny backdrop.
Yeah.
To
Thank you.
anything that happens from now on in the show, just think that there are teens out there
Skating.
Well,
skating their asses
in our
off.
world right now, at this very moment, there be teens.
It's true.
Skating.
Yeah, and it's great.
Yeah.
And also in New Prosper, no one remembers the bad stuff that's happening.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So they be teens.
Yeah,
they be
it's
teens.
just rad shit all the time.
Just to be clear, too, I looked it up. You were wearing a trilby.
Thank you. I was
Trilby.
I was thinking I was wearing a trilby, and I didn't want to look it up because then I would have had to admit that I know the difference.
I do know the difference.
I
in
said
you
this
wearing a
really
trilby.
quietly earlier, but I will say it out loud. I unfortunately have known the difference between the two.
I acknowledge the fedoras I cannot change and the trilbies to know the difference.
Get out.
Party point.
Go home.
Party point.
No. Do we want to? No, I'm sorry. We should keep going through characters, but I do have the party points where we're.
All right.
Oh,
okay.
yes.
Oh, there's got to be a ton from the live show. Let's get into that.
Yeah,
The
update
one
it.
part I didn't get to play was that Squat totally thought they were in an active relationship with
Yeah, we did some initial flirt stuff because, like, I do feel like doing flirt roles is part of our brand as a show now.
Absolutely, and it should be.
And it should be because it's a great mechanic and
Yes.
everyone should use it, but TM, Wandering Path, TM,
Yes.
TM, TM.
I love it, I love it.
Yeah, so like I was trying to get it in there early just to make sure it was like seeded in.
Yeah.
And then it did kind of fall away as like y'all got more competitive with each other. The flirt roles never quite got close enough to break through the competitiveness. And then like Tracy's quest to become the ultimate avatar of lameness sort of just superseded a lot of the flirt that had happened before it. It was just
How
fine.
can anything else exist when Tracy's on a quest to become the lamest person in the world?
You were Steph, right?
Stella.
Love Stella.
Stella Snyder.
Stella
The cutest
Snyder.
pink Power Ranger to ever did
I
skate.
know.
Yes.
I got like weirdly attached to her.
You should.
me
She's
too.
great.
Stella's such a bitch. I love her
I loved
so much.
her.
A lot of unearned confidence. Well, she's like good at
She's
like her
good.
actual like physical prowess, but like the rest of the stuff, like she's not hot shit.
No.
But she acts like it, and I do
Respect
that.
Yeah, I also think that like that's why Stella came off so cool in this episode was like maybe elsewhere she's kind of like rude and I don't know, maybe while she's being a messenger she pushes people down on the street or something to get out of their way. But like
Sorry,
at the skate championship is her in her element.
Yes.
This is like an event made for Stella to shine.
You know what it reminds me of?
She's
It's like
Sharpay, but-
Regina George at the end of Mean Girls because
Yes.
she joins the lacrosse
That's
team.
exactly
Yes.
that. It was that. I was like, those are the exact polls that I thought of.
Sharpay and
Literally,
Regina George.
1,000,000%. And then on the way as we were driving, I was like, okay, I need to come up with a playlist. And I was like, I don't need to come up with a
Say
playlist.
it.
I can find a playlist. So I was like, in the car with Kristen, and I was like, okay, what should I look up to channel this energy? Because all I had at that moment is like, this is a teen girl who would love Azalea Banks.
That's so funny.
And then so I found.
Did you do 212?
Of course,
Of course.
I started with 212.
Of course you did, because you're a genius.
Bottega, like
Ooh.
fully, and then I found like some rant. It wasn't even like a Spotify made or like a curated editorial playlist. It was someone's workout playlist.
Amazing.
That was like
I want you to read it because
okay.
the actual
Oh,
progression of words
is
Oh, I
phenomenal.
can't
Gold.
wait. I can't
Hold on.
wait.
Okay, here it is. It is serving cunty slay girl boss Jim Batty.
There it is.
Yes.
The serving really is what
Yes.
That's
Tease
yeah.
it.
You need the verb at the beginning.
Yes, and that was truly the energy of like
Amazing.
boss ass bitch playing in the background at any given moment in that.
Ass bitch.
So I love Stella.
And that's a cool part too, is that like thank you so much for making these beautiful NPCs for our world that we already made. So that, like,
That's true.
they're out there.
They're out
While
there
Fran
doing
and
stuff.
Ibra and JJ and Gordon are doing their thing, Stella and Tracy and Squat and the Darkness are out there.
The darkness
Okay,
and their
but-
rats.
But also, apparently Gordon is a fan of junior skate competitions.
Yes.
Yes.
I wonder.
That's why he hates them.
Yes.
Because of what happened at the tournament.
I wonder, maybe this was in the past.
It's a backstory thing.
Backstory.
Yeah, maybe this was a prequel.
In my mind, Gordon was there selling pretzels.
That's so funny.
I love
Oh my
that.
God,
That's a great
so
call.
He was not there because he's a fan. He was there on behalf of the Bakers Guild. He was the guy with the pretzels.
Working.
The
That's a
cheesecake
great
of it
call.
all
Was it
was one of the
so
funny. The way
good.
you described the cheesecake, like it was just because the move was something with like doing. Oh, it
Why,
was your
why
trick?
skateboard when you can eat cheesecake?
Cheesecake,
skate trick?
skate trick, right?
Oh my God! Yeah, shout out to everyone in the audience who gave us the funniest things imaginable.
I kept so many of those slips. I should have brought them because
I know, I should
there
have
were
brought them
so
today,
many
too.
unused ones that were so funny.
We might just have to put it up behind the GM screen on our
Oh,
Patreon
yeah.
this month.
Hey.
Yes.
I'm glad you guys had fun. I had a lot of fun with it. It was an incredible experience.
Bravo, Misha, also.
Yeah.
I mean,
Thank you.
like, you made amazing graphics.
No, Lynn made the amazing graphics.
Oh, you made the graphics? Oh my
I
gosh,
got it.
incredible.
Lynn is our graphics department here on the show.
Incredible, Lynn. Like the scale of the words that the audience
That
said
was
was
very
so
funny.
fun.
So
All
cute.
your NPCs were so fun.
Thank you.
Thank you for letting me use the power of God and anime on my side too.
Mana, we were sitting next to each other. I saw the 20 land right next to me. There was nothing I could do.
But I meant thank you for letting me like use my action to jump into a wraith and
sure.
not stop me from doing that.
Of course, if you want to throw yourself
you?
into the middle of a wreath and die, who am I to stop you?
Yeah.
Okay, can I read my musical cheat sheet?
Yes.
Yes,
I'm going to read out the names that I came up with, and you got to tell me what the
Okay.
actual musical
Oh my
is.
god, I can't wait. I'm so excited. Okay.
All right, so we had Twisted. Does anybody
That
remember?
one is
Wicked.
Wicked.
Yes.
Which
we
is
got-
also a Star Kid musical.
A
about
great
Jafar.
Star Kid.
It is. It
So
is.
good.
Love
Cinderella's
that.
Castle dropped on YouTube yesterday, and I'm so excited.
I was originally going to name it Wicked, but then Lynn reminded me about Twisted, the Star Kid musical,
So
and I was
good.
like, well, it has to be
So
Twisted.
No, now Star Kid is canon.
Now Star Kid's canon.
Great. They should be. They're the only musical theater people in New Prosper.
Yes.
It's the only ones that exist. Okay, other ones.
All right, Feathers,
Feathers. Ooh.
Heathers?
yeah,
Nice.
Nice.
Ghost of the Disco,
Ghost.
No,
The
Phantom of the Opera. Obviously, that's Panic at the... Wait a second.
Litigiously Brunette,
Legally
Legally
Blonde.
Blonde.
Yes.
Oh, I got one.
Hair Gel,
Hairspray.
Sultry Shoes,
Kinky Boots.
and Middle School Show Choir.
High School Musical.
Yes.
I didn't know that middle school show choir. I didn't know about that one.
I was in middle school regular choir, and we had to do the In Excelsis Deo.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it was wild. And we did it with all the other middle schools in the region. So we all, like, the curtain rose, and it was all these middle school kids.
That's
like,
so intense.
children?
That's
I
too
would say,
many.
like, at least 80 children.
Yeah, that's too many children.
And they're like,
Too many children.
you know, it's just it was crazy.
That's so funny.
I did show choir
Yes,
proper.
yes.
And one year
Wow,
we did
flex.
candlelight. Thank you. we did the candlelight thing
Yeah.
at Disneyland,
Yeah,
right?
oh, yeah.
Whoa.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So they bring all of the local
They're so
choirs
cute.
together. So there's like 500 of us. We're all in these variously colored robes.
Yes.
And we're backstage at Disneyland. We're all like 15, 16. We're standing next to this guy. We're walking next to this guy who's like 25 in an adult choir.
Yeah.
Who's like spitting sunflower seeds and like telling us dirty jokes. And we're backstage walking, and right as we're about to go through this tunnel to get into the park, one of the costume characters, Buttercup, the cow.
Oh, Clarabelle.
Clarabelle.
Goofy's girlfriend.
Clarabelle
right.
comes out of her trailer in full Clarabelle,
Yes.
and is waving to us all as we
Yes.
pass, and we're like, "Oh my god, that's so cool! Hi, Clarabelle!" Blah, blah, blah. And as they're waving to her, like a supervisor on the other side of the gangway screams. He's like, "Clarabelle, get back inside right now!"
Oh my god.
And the face that Misha just made is the face we all just made. We were like, "Oh my god, is Clarabelle okay?" Like, Clarabelle, blink if you're in danger.
So funny.
And then we sang a bunch of Christmas songs.
Amazing.
And now, finally, for your viewing pleasure, we're back on stage. You're welcome. Yeah. Truly just an excellent time. Let's do another one.
Yes, please.
do more.
Absolutely.
Nah.
We got
please.
some.
Let's
There's
do
some
it.
fun. We can circle some on the big board and
Let's
see
go.
what we wanna hit up.
Yeah. Listen, the more people out there that request us to come to their hometown and do a live show,
Yeah.
the more likely it is they'll
Look,
do
this
it.
is literally all I want to do now is play this game live with my friends and
Yeah.
meet these people who engage with us in the
And
audience.
I want more people to yell at us.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
I
thrilling.
love being yelled at.
I also will never do math by myself ever
No.
again.
Yeah, that's
Man, you
right.
were so
People
bad
were
at math
helping
that
with the
day.
math.
No, okay, so
There's a lot going on.
There's a
There's
lot
people
going
watching
on. I was
us.
up until like 2 a.m. making sure I had all of the character sheets and stuff, like, and also just like vaguely anxious
I get
as a
it.
person.
It's a live show. Yeah.
And then I crushed a Celsius and a half
flavor?
before this Astro Vibe, the blue raspberry one. It's
Astro
so
Vibe?
good.
Extra vibe?
Astro.
Damn.
No.
Sorry.
Astra.
We tried.
We tried. Yeah, so I was on one, and we normally cut out the math during these episodes, so it doesn't feel weird, but I was like, oh my god, a lot of people are like waiting for me to do math, and like the pressure got too much for me where I was like, I'm gonna do the math wrong. I know how to do math, but it's gonna be wrong.
So you just blank out.
I blacked out, and then as soon as I realized I could say it out loud, because normally that's what I would do in these small rooms, but then hearing a whole audience say numbers at me, I was like, one, that was amazing. Two, thank you for being my assistive device in this moment.
Thanks for being our calculator.
Yeah, thanks for being our calculator. And it made for another fun thing for the audience members to yell at. Like, I could tell that so many of y'all were like waiting for me to say numbers at some point. And I was like, well, I got to give the people what they want. And the people want to do math.
Math rocks.
The vibes were just so immaculate. Thank you, everyone, again, who came out and watched it.
Yeah, you really made it a beautiful experience.
It was so lovely.
Yeah, let's do it again.
Let's do more.
Real soon.
Yeah.
Okay. Plenty about the live show. Do y'all want to get back to the main story here?
Yeah, let's talk.
Okay, this is actually a detour for episodes 21 and 22.
Oh my gosh, the monster.
The basement.
The basement. Maybe the scariest basement.
Did we solve the puzzle?
Great question. So
everyone's been wondering.
This was, as we were talking about this abandoned factory, we've already talked about how like I sort of designed it that these skate kids were there and physics was weird. And then I was like, well, why is physics weird? Obviously something going on in the basement. One of my favorite books is House of Leaves, where there is a spatially incongruous series of corridors and hallways inside of a family home. And I wanted to do one. That's it. And I'm always on the lookout, I mean, as most GMs are in 2025, I might say, for conditions in combat that aren't just kill the beast.
I love that. I love that
like
so much.
Yes, kill the beast is always there for you. It makes things very straightforward. But I think it's more interesting when you have to like consider things subjectively in combat, where you have to prioritize, where you have to like, I could prioritize safety or I could prioritize knowledge. Or I could prioritize the victim's safety. There was a victim in this one.
I love when there is a really deep opinion on role play in combat. I think a lot of people like say there's like, oh, there's role play and then there's combat and they live separately. And I disagree wholeheartedly. I think that some of the most compelling moments happen when like a combat forces you as a player and as a character to make really hard choices. And I really felt that throughout all of the basement stuff.
Absolutely. Because I think it's like, I mean, I think about this a lot in running games for my friends and stuff too, which is like most of the character sheet is designed for combat. And so, yeah, for the player, most of their agency is going to come in these combat scenarios. But additionally, it's like, say you're having beef with one of your party members and then they go down and then you heal them. That is like a character moment. Especially like if you don't like them. And then it's like, ooh, now we have something that we can like explore as like, why did you save them? Like, why did you set aside whatever it was you were dealing with to like help that person or whatever? And like that only happens because of the kind of context around combat and like life or death situations. I mean, I love Fire Emblem because in the game, like the only way the characters fall in love with each other is if they're next to each other on the battlefield. Did you not know about this?
I've never played Fire Emblem.
Okay, so Fire Emblem Awakening, allegedly the lore is for a long time there were people who were working on Fire Emblem who wanted to have a romance mechanic. And there were people at the studio who pushed back on that. And then they were kind of like running out of money and Fire Emblem was probably going to be their last game. And they were like, hey, let's just try to put this mechanic in there. Like if it's the last time we're going to, like maybe this is the last game. They put it in there. It did gangbusters. Fire Emblem Awakening 8. And it was so fun because it's a top-down like strategy game and you have your little party members and if they land next to each other on the battlefield, a little heart pops up. Like just
and then it gives them like points towards
an affectionate relationship.
Cool.
And then you can have social like rankings and grades with them and then they like propose to each other and fall in love and it's so awesome.
I love Fire Emblem.
Me too.
But two, like the fact that it is a space where relationships are tested in that moment, where values are tested, and if D&D is like a resource management game within the war game of it, then like the fact that you have to make choices about the action economy inherently means that there are character choices built into that. And so like when a combat isn't just beat the monster, it makes it a lot harder to make those choices. It's not as straightforward as I have to save my friends. It's, there are a lot of different conditions here that will pull on different values and motivations.
Well, and I'll shout out Bex quickly for just making a very strong choice immediately that really carried through the rest of, this little arc here, this little abandoned factory arc, which was you decided there's no way I'm hurting this thing.
Yeah. I loved that.
You decided that early, you decided it hard, and it drove almost everything everyone else did.
Yeah.
Yes.
I forgot I did that.
All you,
It's been
baby.
a long time.
It's been a minute. Yeah.
It's been a minute. But I did, and that was based on the interaction with the beast upstairs.
Yeah.
And
That it was like trying to push you out, that it was like trying to get you out of there. Yeah.
Finally realizing that Aid had been trying to help me and I had heard it just really struck Ibra. And they were like, I don't want to make the same mistake twice. I can't confirm that that's what this thing is trying to do, but I can't confirm that it's not.
Yeah.
So just in case.
So why risk it? It is wild that violence as a mechanic kind of influences in your mind how you solve all problems, which is like, if something's in my way, I'll just kill it.
Yeah.
And then it won't be in my way anymore. And that's like not how we solve problems in the real world most of the time.
Most of the time,
We hope.
One can only imagine.
And I think that's an interesting thing about Ibra is because I think they were sort of trained to think at least similarly.
Okay.
to that.
1,000,000%.
If not,
is there more a classic General Shinmar scenario than being down underneath the ground in a spatially weird tunnel facing a beast with insurmountable odds? Like, yeah, that was all over General Shinmar's book, was like her doing that and killing them all.
and kill it all, kill everything.
And wishing things just didn't exist anymore.
We'll get to that in a
So
little
what
bit.
would it have been like if we did just try to kill the beast? You know what I mean?
You absolutely could have.
Yeah.
And to be clear, there was danger for you guys, and the thing it was doing was dangerous. I won't get into the specifics of the nature of that danger just yet, because y'all didn't quite discover it all in that basement.
That makes sense. I feel like we muscled our way through that one in a lot
You
of ways.
muscled your way to some interesting revelations.
Yes.
We'll get to the blue void of it all in a second.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Will you remind us what those interesting revelations were? Because it's been a couple weeks.
Sure. Well, you guys definitely saw, like, each of you who isn't Ibra had a vision of the Spectral Knight, proving that guy is out there and real, and not just a figment of Ibra's imagination.
Yes. We saw the ancestors of JJ's family.
There was a vision of JJ's ancestors going back countless generations, which is a thing we have not. Generational legacy and family are a huge part of JJ's character, but we haven't gone that far back yet, so that's fun.
The Tempest Void.
And then there was a Tempest Void.
Yes. I love the Tempest Void.
What's a Tempest Void?
It's a void with a big old tornado of stuff.
Oh, yeah, that fucking thing. Right.
And all the tornado said was, "We're sorry."
Yeah.
That was really
That was
interesting.
weird.
Yeah.
That was really interesting. There's definitely some ancestral, like,
Trauma.
generational, like responsibility stuff happening, which feels, again, so thematic to, what we all experience in our lives in general.
It's so part of that, like, post-war propaganda vibe we wanted the city to have. Like, the reason the city's called New Prosper is in direct conflict with all of the fact that, like, stuff was around before the city was around.
Yes.
These families go back generations. Like, and the fact that there is a schism from the old to the new that, like, especially from that book, that, like, there was an intentional break from the old government towards a new system, and we're just gonna start fresh, trying to break the bonds to the past. Like, it's a fun thing for me to play with.
Yeah.
Man, wouldn't it be crazy if we were actually the oppressed people, but we didn't remember it because of another piece of a spell?
Shit.
Like, we feel like we're the oppressors, but we were, like, actually living there for a long time with Balvarox, and then this higher... this bigger government came in and was like, you all belong to us now, and wish spell, no one remembers.
That's so interesting.
History is written by the victor.
Yeah, and, like...
And the victor can make it up as they go along.
There's a book series that I'm in the middle of, and I won't say which one because it's a spoiler, but that there's this idea that the person who's bad was a person who was marginalized. And I think there's it's very interesting. Same thing in, like, Django Unchained, where you're like, at a certain point you have two options. You can either latch yourself to the winning team and betray, your homies,
Your values.
or like you become the new oppressor.
Yeah.
And you assume that somehow you're going to do the oppression better than the last oppressor did. You're like, the problem was you guys weren't hard enough on them, is that was the real issue. You got to really scare them, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
yeah.
All right. So can I love the theorizing. Can I bring it a little smaller in scope? Like, you guys saw a lot of stuff in that basement. Mm-hmm. You guys experienced a lot of stuff, but no one like told you what it was you were seeing. So can I just hear what you guys think was going on in that basement?
Ooh.
Now.
Okay, setting the scene, there was a magically inclined teen at the center of a sprawling nest
of
wires and cables.
Yeah.
With several pieces of bright Astra evenly spaced in a circle around this teen, and a beast from the shadows that was protecting this teen at all costs.
Yep.
With tethers going from teen to Astra, not the other way around.
Correct.
Okay.
Oh, right.
I think that place was doing experiments on maybe Balvarox, maybe other types of animals, which is why it's such a nexus point between, the two realms, it seems like. And I feel like, I feel like that creature was trying to open a portal between the realms using Seika. That's what I think was happening. I think it was trying to open a portal, open some kind of dimensional transport point so that things could come through.
Would you call it a Seika Genesis?
Oh, I fucking would. That's a fucking point. It took you guys so long.
You jumped it. You've been waiting for that, haven't you?
When I named the character Seika and knew that this was what was going to happen to her, I thought of that joke. That was like 6 weeks ago.
Wow.
Thank you.
The silence was because I think we all felt the pain of that it was there the whole time.
It was more that I was like, what?
Oh.
And then I got it, and I was like, oh.
Hey there, it's Misha. This is the rest stop. Come take a break beside the path with me, just until we catch our breath. Last weekend, Erin and I spent a couple of days up in a mountain, and I tried to do exactly that. It's getting tough to catch our breath out here, I won't lie. I hope, as always, that we can provide some measure of entertainment, equal parts distraction from and engagement with stuff going on in our world that makes it a little easier to bear. I hope you like hanging with us here in the Detour. And I hope you liked listening to our live show recording. And if you did, keep an ear out for some good news in the near future. We hope to have more news about our next live show for you very soon. But once again, if you are in the Southern California area near the end of July, hold a candle for us in your hearts. You know who always holds a candle for us in their hearts? Our patrons over at patreon.com/wanderingpathpod. Thanks for lighting a new candle for us to our newest patron, Anna, as well as those who hold an eternal flame, our Voyager level patrons and above, JWX, Aubrey L, Claricite, The Queer Mess, and Madison M. These are the people keeping us going, quite literally. So if you like our show, you have these fine folks to thank. And if you might want to become one of them, we sure would appreciate the support. One more time, that's patreon.com/wanderingpathpod. We are sponsored once again this week by Mage Hand Press, creators of the incomparable D&D book, Valda's Spire of Secrets. We are celebrating the fact that the Gunslinger class from Valda's Spire of Secrets is now on D&D Beyond. Play a Gunslinger if you like scoring powerful critical hits and having an entire arsenal of guns at your disposal. The Gunslinger class comes with 6 new subclasses, a slew of gunslinging spells, and new feats, so you can shoot first and ask questions later. Plus, with its brand new lineup of firearms, as seen in our own show, you can turn any session into a shootout. Play as a Deadeye Sniper, a suave secret agent, or rootin' tootin' ricochet shootin' trick shot. That's not even in the copy, I just really wanted to say it, but it's true. All that and more. Become the hero of your next game night with Valda's Spire of Secrets. This hardly scratches the surface of the cool stuff Mage Hand Press has come up with, and you can get a taste of the very best right now. The Gunslinger and the Player Pack are both available now on D&D Beyond, and you can go to magehandpress.com to see everything they make. One more time, check them out at magehandpress.com. Okay, that's it for now. Let's get back on the path and back to the show.
Vex has 7 party points.
Sick.
Almost double what everyone else has.
No, really?
Mina's got 4.5. Misha has 4. You have 7. Lynn, you have 3.5 because you and Mayana are splitting a
From
point
the live show?
for Yeehaw.
We reset for 2025.
Oh, wow. I forgot that.
I have
Dang.
2. The audience has 12.
Yeah, absolutely.
That feels
The
correct.
audience should always have more than
Yes.
us.
I got to catch up.
Yeah.
Wow.
Get in the game, Mayana.
Lock in.
Okay,
lock
so
in.
that's my theory. Who else has a theory?
Oh, man. Well, what was interesting was the fact that the beast could transfer its consciousness into Seika.
Was it transferring its consciousness or was it sharing?
Or it was like definitely either possessing her or like shifting its, because didn't you say Seika's eyes looked like the beast's eyes? And did you say the beast's eyes look like Seika's eyes?
I did not say that.
Okay, you did not
but
say
you guys
that.
jumped on that pretty quick. No, all I said was that the beast's eyes were coming through Seika.
Got it. Okay.
Interesting.
Somebody else say something. I don't know.
So remember many detours ago when my hypothesis was eggs?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, so my
The Astra is
hypothesis
eggs.
is still eggs.
That bright Astra is eggs.
Yes.
Oh.
So I think I agree with the portal also, but I think it was this ritual needed someone who was like magically like attuned, using Seika's memories, using Seika's consciousness as a conduit into a circle of bright Astra within a nest.
Yeah.
I think it is like portal-like, but it is like kind of a portal that's like, and now I will create. I'll reanimate these eggs essentially.
Fascinating.
Or like that, like I'm like egg metaphorical, not necessarily literal, but like that each piece of bright Astra, as we've seen, is both like attractive to wraiths, but I think it's either a way that they can channel from another plane and then teleport in, or that it somehow like births them.
Got it.
Because it existed while the Balvarocs were here. It was being mined by the humans, and the Balvarocs were protecting it.
Yeah, like Astra has existed as long as anyone in our world knows, like as long as like copper has existed or salt. Like based on the conversation with JJ's parents, everyone just assumed it was like another naturally occurring mineral and operated like a naturally occurring mineral. So there's part of that, but also like I loved Once Upon a Time, and dwarves came from eggs. So
That
like,
is so funny.
I love that. So
What?
like,
I
what
didn't know
if-
that they come from eggs
Yeah,
in
they-
Once Upon a Time.
Yeah, they just emerge from eggs, fully grown, and then they start mining.
They just get to
I
work.
love
Yeah,
that.
they just get to work.
It's like a horse that just knows how to stand and then it gets to work.
Yes, that is dwarves but eggs in Once Upon a Time.
That's
so
funny.
Crazy.
We're not going to go there because there's too much to say about Once Upon a Time.
That's a whole nother
That's a whole
podcast.
nother podcast. But yeah, so I think it's like something akin to like the Astra, especially when charged with another person's memories, or if like you can combine memories like via joint consciousness, that it can imbue this huge magical spark, and then that could be a catalyst for creating a new wraith or Balvarox or whatever. We don't actually know the ultimate nature of any of these beings. We don't know if they're all a similar being. We don't know if they're different species.
Yeah.
We don't know if they're like domesticated cats where they're all technically the same species, but just like look a lot different. Like we don't know any of that.
Yeah.
So I'm still on egg.
Egg.
My hypothesis is still eggs.
Egg.
I have no idea what's going on. That is my official answer. I have no idea what's going on.
All right, fair enough.
I know that we are in the basement of Heron Industries, and Leyland Darvani Heron
Nice pull.
was all the way back in the before times, according to the lore of the book that General Shinmar wrote. Leyland Heron was brought in to help develop Astra because Tavian Aramis was like, I have ideas. So, like, there's a lot we haven't uncovered about specifically Leyland Heron. And I think being in the basement of one of the factories of this original manufacturer, where upstairs we found a hidden safe with a bunch of papers that have hidden words on them.
Yeah.
There's some stuff directly pertaining to Leyland Heron and the Astra and the Balvarox. And there is a deep connection here between those three parties that we have not yet discovered. And I think this was the closest that we've gotten to sort of connecting those three dots. And I just don't think we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, though, you got a gold star for all that recall.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Bravo.
I have notes.
Yep, we love a note taker.
Oh,
6. So thank you for that. That was delicious.
Yes.
I eat it all up. So, like, where do you guys go from here?
Ooh,
To bed.
so we got
Yeah.
Ooh, bed.
Yes.
I don't know. I think we have some more side quests and anomalies in town to investigate. We have the papers to investigate, right? We have some Bright Astra. We haven't gone to Gwen in a while. Yeah, we have a lot of people to check in with that we.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like we check out the papers when we get back.
we absolutely should.
Because we have
yeah.
some papers. We'll all be home. You know, I feel like investigating those papers is a great idea. I have not forgotten about the old lady with the ghost, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have the governor's computer file.
Yeah. We have a
Do
hacker.
we
We
have
need a
like,
hacker,
the whole
though.
thing?
But
Oh,
we don't have Javi.
No.
Yeah, we
and I
need
do
a
need to build
hacker.
you a new Naginata.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ibra's got a lot of stuff going on.
Feels like a lot of stuff.
Ibra's got like 5 possible
Yes.
paths to follow
Yes.
for this downtime, and we're gonna decide on mic which way they're gonna go.
And canonically, it's been like a week and a half.
Yep.
The longest week and a half.
What are the other side quests that we didn't do? So we didn't do Old Lady Ghost.
Old
we
Lady
didn't
Ghost.
do...
Was that the same one as Burned Down House? That was the same one, right?
Yeah, that's the same one.
Old Lady Ghost, Burned Down House.
It was a lady. What her house got exploded, and then rather than like
It
give
was a
her
lady.
sort of funds to relocate and like put her up temporarily and let her back in, her landlord just kind of foreclosed on the apartment. That was the thing that
Dang.
happened way back in episode 7.
Foreclosed haunted apartment.
I never
yeah.
said haunted, but you guys know everything has to do with ghosts.
It's
you
so
guys
spooky.
are putting haunted on it.
Got it.
I just want to say.
Are we wrong?
Brahma
Are you gonna
wants
look at us and tell us that we're wrong?
Ibra's sibling Brahma wants to know about the
weavers.
the refiners, the weavers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The refiners. MDR.
Oh my God, Brahma and Fran offshoot.
I
make
love
the
it.
two
Just
of you.
nobody else be in the studio that day.
We'll be behind the curtain just watching.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, but seriously, there was another side quest, right? There were 3, weren't there?
There was there's also a mansion somewhere.
There is also
that
a
is
mansion.
haunted.
What's the mansion?
We don't know much about that one.
You guys
Not
haven't
where the
followed
lady
it.
lived.
Not where the lady lived. A
Are we
separate mansion.
are we too far in to go back to some of these side quests?
Some of them. I think so. Like, that's an interesting thing that like we have talked about in production meetings is like, correct me if I'm wrong, but y'all have asked me to put in consequences for not following up
Yes.
on things in a
Yeah,
timely
that's
manner.
fair.
Yeah.
So those things, there's a system called Forged in the Dark that calls it a progress clock. Progress clocks have
Progress
advanced.
clock.
Yes.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, like with progress clocks, the idea is even if we did nothing about anything, a plot is still moving forward.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you understand
Passage
what
of
each
time.
hour on the
Yeah.
clock is to a final progression. And so if we don't do anything to stop the progress of that clock, it will continue to advance.
Got it.
If we're focusing on the wrong part of the clock, it doesn't mean the rest of the clock isn't still moving.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to be clear, I don't think there's a wrong part of this clock.
Yes,
I
yeah.
just think like one of the things we're doing here is putting pressure on systems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is only thematic to the world that while you can help some people, you can't always help everyone all the time. That like if you choose to help some people, something might happen to some other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who does the mansion belong to?
We don't know.
Great
Because
question.
it doesn't also belong to Leyland Heron, does it?
We
don't
have to
know.
find out.
It reminds me of the mansion in Harvest Moon: A Wonderful Life, which is just like the one nice house on the top of the hill. It's got an old lady and a girl who played piano and 2 cats.
Do we want me to go through the list of the people from General Shinmar's book?
As a refresher,
Sure.
All right, so we had Arkenstrand the Fourth.
Oh boy.
About 50 years ago, there was a soft, nonviolent revolution where early versions of the guilds had a summit and decided to abolish the Arkenhood in favor of governorship.
Dang.
Tavian Aramis, the upstart young visionary who came to the council as a designer and was like, I know what to do with magic to make things different.
You're J. Robert Oppenheimer, for example.
yeah.
And this is General Shimar's main squeeze.
Any one
Shinmar
of them
seem to
could
have
have
a few main
I think
squeezes.
it's a Mamma Mia situation.
I think Reed is just so charismatic that she couldn't help put a little bit of
Spice.
Infatuation into talking about all three of them. I couldn't stop
That's
it.
why it's a Mamma Mia situation.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Mamma Mia.
We got Leyland Heron, who was the factory baron, General Shinmar, Mama Dearest, and Master Bracha before Bracha was a lord.
Papa.
Papa. And then he was her marketer.
Publicist, yeah.
Got it.
His entire thing was getting the workforce together to do the mining and sort of spinning everything in a positive light.
Well, my guess would be, I might be fucking crazy, but my guess would be the mansion is likely to belong to one of these other people in this story.
You know, and I set up these very powerful people and then told you that you don't quite know where they are, and I gave you this old mansion. It's almost like you've studied storytelling before or something.
I've never told a story in my entire life.
And I'm not about to start now.
No. I want someone to hold my hand and drag me to a bunch of stuff they already prepared for me.
Okay.
Speaking of being taken by the hand by other people and having things prepared for you, let's move on to listener questions.
What a segue!
Have you ever heard a segue more
So
nailed
way.
in your life?
So seg. Very seg, very way.
Thank you so much. Let's move on to listener questions. Our first question today is from Maddie M, our patron on patreon.com/OneRunPathPod.
Maddie, we love you.
Maddie sent in this fantastic question this week, and I'm really excited to talk about it. Since this group of PCs have at least 2 prominent chronically ill and or disabled members, I was wondering if you could talk more about how disability fits into the world of New Prosper.
Yes!
Using disability as inclusive of chronic illness, neurodivergence, and mental, physical, visible, invisible, etc. disabilities.
Wow.
We talked about this a little bit at last Detour, which was an emergency detour because I was disabled. But I love this in, like, we didn't really talk about how it fits into the world of New Prosper.
The accessibility aspects,
So, like, my initial instinct here is that because this is such an industrial town, it's such a capitalist town, that, like, it unfortunately sort of subscribes to the mindset that our world subscribes to a little bit, which is like, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and if you can't pull because you're not strong enough, you don't get it.
Okay, but also pull yourself up by your bootstraps is...
We all know.
It's literally a thing that's physically impossible
It's
to do.
physically impossible.
Yes.
It's
Yeah,
like
that's why we say that.
how almost every wise saying has that secret second part that's actually makes it a completely different saying.
Yeah.
The original context for the phrase is like, that's as dumb as trying to pull yourself up by your bootstraps, which is like literally pulling yourself up by your own shoelaces, which is physically impossible, because if you try to if you're on the ground and you try to pull yourself up by your shoelaces, you're already on the ground, so you're not going to be able to pull yourself up.
That's
crazy.
And then it got co-opted by like hyper-individualistic philosophies as a good thing.
It's also the same way that Monopoly, it was a game
content.
about...
Stolen.
It was created by a woman at a university, I believe.
Yes,
to-
it was called The Landlord's Game.
Yeah, to comment on capitalism, and then I think a male classmate or someone stole it and sold it and made it like, Monopoly. Woohoo.
Yeah, isn't being a landlord super fun?
Yeah. Well, it's fun when I'm the landlord, obviously.
Yeah. Well, so like, I think, Astra enables things, mobility aids, like surgeries that we might not have, but we've also locked Astra behind a paywall in our world.
Yes.
So I think that remains the biggest obstacle to disability care, just like it does here, is like, can you afford it?
And I think that's the thing with Paz specifically, is Paz and Paz's mom could not afford it. Paz's dad funds it because,
Out of
as
shame
said
or-
in
Out of
one
guilt, kind of.
Yeah.
it was one of the
seems like-
episodes where I was listening to it again and it really hit me, talking to Paz, and essentially it was, my dad would rather me be alive than dead, so he'll fund the things to keep me alive.
Yeah.
And someone else was like, that's the bare minimum.
Yeah.
And Paz was like, thank you for saying that.
Yeah, of course it is. Like, I mean, New Prosper still as a city doesn't really strike me as any more or less accessible than our cities are.
No.
Like, I think about it a lot when it comes to like crosswalk ramps, where, I mean, I don't know what could be done about it, but like the way you have to move a wheelchair to like get down into that ramp, it never really puts you like right where you need to be.
Never.
There's also a lot of divots in the street. There's just like, there's a lot of issues just even with something as simple as like getting from one place to another. Yeah.
I think it's like interesting too, where it's like with magic And there's so many excellent writers out there that talk about like fantasy, sci-fi, magic systems, and disability and accessibility. And so it is interesting that you can have things like Brown Cube, which is like, in theory, could like solve a lot of like food insecurity in like a really important way. And in the same way of like golden rice here, it's like there are drawbacks to certain stuff where even if it solves food insecurity, everyone but JJ hates it.
Like Soylent, where like it nutritionally will let you live.
Yeah.
But like there's a lot of drawbacks to not having other aspects of food in your diet.
Yeah. Like we as characters like can talk about things like when we were going down the steps and then they turned into a ramp. Like there are ways that the city has handled it, but when everyone else is still ultimately having to prioritize their livelihood and their legacy.
Yeah.
Like it is something that is forcing individualism, despite the fact that the city itself says that it is communal.
And also the place that had the rail pop up and the ramp existed as a private location. It was not a public city.
Yeah. There's a certain part of me as a disabled person that really wants a fantasy city that I create in my head to be more accessible than the world around us.
Yeah.
But there's also a part of me as a disabled storyteller that wants to be able to tell the story of the frustration I feel when I'm interacting with those systems myself.
Absolutely.
So like, I think Brown Cube is actually a perfect example that like, we can solve food insecurity with magic, but if you can't afford flavor, you don't deserve it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's the thing that kills me about a lot of options is like it's an option that's like, well, what do you want? All the options? And it's like, well, I would like to at least get the same level of like dignity and respect.
Dignity
and, like,
is a big part
variation
of it.
and variety that non-disabled people get to have.
And the idea that you need money to deserve dignity is...
Yeah.
So I guess to that point, it's like the disabled characters that we have in our show are much more privileged than the average bear. Like, I wonder...
Has at the very least, for sure.
For sure.
And of course, like I was trying to hide it early and then we had that big revelation. So like that's a...
Right. But I guess the question that it brings me to is like, what's the lived experience of the disabled people in New Prosper who like have not been coming across our
we've seen
story?
the dustpan.
I was going to say the
I was
dustpan.
about to say the dustpan. And I think the thing about the dustpan, to be clear, is like there are probably folks who are disabled there, but not every person in the dustpan is disabled. But people who are living on the margins who don't even have access to the basic needs a person has, with the exception of the generosity of someone like Cecilia.
Yeah.
Like,
and that like that's what the solve is, right? Is that,
it's like some nice person will come along and give them what they need.
You know, in my mind, like one of the biggest most stalwart bastions against the hyper individualism is people like JJ. Honestly, the people who are like, I'm going to make it my life's job to make the city better for actual people.
Yeah. And like JJ, I've said on mic many times, is chronically anxious. Like is like, if I did not have well over a decade of therapy, like JJ in many ways, like that is like a big part of myself within her. And her coping mechanisms are not really much of anything. Like
you're just like
ultimately
muscling through.
Does she have any?
Cigarettes?
Yeah, like
that's not healthy.
People don't get to see it because this is an audio medium, but like Lynn's face will like wince when they're like trying to figure out like what JJ is trying to say. There's like this tensing that you do, which is so good, of just like your whole body just like trying to figure out the right thing to do and trying to figure out the right thing to say and like constantly kind of like in conflict with it.
So it's like JJ loves Brown Cube because it solves a lot for her in those moments of like, I don't need to make a decision. I know this is good for me. And I think that like in conversations around like competing needs and stuff, but it's also like JJ is allowed to have dignity in consuming Brown Cube because in many other ways, JJ is still privileged, like still has stability and like has to contend with being in an environment, like especially that home life of like that does believe in exceptionalism.
Agreed. I think there's also something to be said for like how our world validates forms of what is essentially self-harm if they are in the service of productivity.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh, if you wake up early and you exercise every day, but it's like in service of like being this machine of efficiency, people look at that and they go like, that is morally virtuous. Like, oh, you not having enough time to like cook a meal for yourself and instead doing brown cube because that's efficient, or because you are dealing with so much like executive dysfunction that you can't decide. You like can't even bring yourself to figure out like what it is you want to eat. And so you're just going to deprive yourself of the joys of variety in food in service of something that just gets you back to work.
As though the joys of variety of food isn't what the entire like history of human civilization is about.
Yeah.
Literally. Literally.
And like to that point too of like, I love that we've been talking about brown cube for so long because I have a lot of feelings around brown cube.
You should
but
speak on
it's
it.
like it's one of those things where, as you just said, like people will see JJ eating brown cube and be like, "It's so virtuous and noble of you to sacrifice flavor,
you're working
to
so
sacrifice
hard.
like you're working so hard." And JJ is going to contend with like the cognitive dissonance of like, I'm not doing this one as a sacrifice.
I'm being told this is good for me.
It's not even like I'm being told this is good for me. Like this is an accessibility measure for myself.
Yeah. Like I stock my fridge full of protein shakes, not because I like the way they taste, but because it is a surefire way to make sure I get the protein that I need in the morning to activate my medication. And I mean, if I had the executive function to make myself a breakfast full of protein every morning, I would do it. I don't have that. So I have my brown cube is my protein shake.
Brown liquid.
Exactly. Brown liquid.
Brown cup.
Brown mug.
Brown mug.
Do we have more questions?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Let's move on to the next question.
But thank you, Maddie.
Yeah, thank you, Maddie. That
This
was
is
a
something
great-
that so many of us, one, have to deal with in our everyday lives, and two, like that we do make concerted effort to represent on the show. So thank you for noticing and thank you for wondering.
Yeah, I'm sorry that wasn't like a more fun answer, but it is like a real answer that's true to us, and so it's making its way into the show. And
I
the
hope
story.
it was at least mildly fun to listen to because I had fun talking about it.
I hope it lets our disabled fans feel a little more seen in a way that society doesn't want them to be.
Yeah.
Let's move on to some more fun questions, shall we?
Oh, yeah.
This is a question from our friend Asher. Thank you so much, Asher.
Hi, buddy.
I feel like everyone gravitates towards playing a certain type of character. What's your usual character look like, and how does your Wandering Path character measure up? I know we talked about this a little in the past, but especially now that we like just made new characters for the live show.
Yeah.
I want us to think a little bit more about like what our patterns are for character creation.
I love to play just a weird little guy. I do. It's really fun. Like I love to play the I'm here for the vibes, I'm here for the jokes, I'm here for the goofs and the gags. And Ibra is not that.
Shout out to the time that we were starting a campaign and I said, Bex, what do you want to play? And they said, a tree. And then we had to soft reboot that campaign. And I said, Bex, what do you want to play this time? And Bex said, a second tree.
It's so funny.
I was having a lot of fun committing to that gag.
That's incredible.
And that's what I usually do is I find some bits and I commit to those bits. And with Ibra, the bit that I'm committed to is being serious, being competent, being, you know, not the goofy little guy for once. So in terms of how Ibra measures up to my usual characters, they don't. There's a whole chasm in between.
It's so funny.
So good.
I usually play bulldozers because I'm newer to D&D. So like the first game that I played, which was pre-pandemic, DM'd by Joey Rasul from Vampire the Masquerade.
Joey!
I played like
We
a
love
dragonborn barbarian.
Yes.
Who was just very belligerent, and that kind of allowed me to not have to grapple with like the finer points and really just be able to kind of steamroll if I didn't know what was going on. Not in a shitty way, but in a in a fun way.
We love a tank.
And then same deal in that campaign we played that you and I played, Misha, over the pandemic. It was the same deal. I played an Earth Genasi who was kind of like thought he was Batman.
Yeah, his name was Slate, and he was truly stone-faced.
Incredible. No notes.
Yeah, it was really, and they were really fun. They were really, really fun and would often miss the point of the moment in comedic ways and then just be able to like throw themselves into battle
I
and
can
not
see
worry.
that so clearly.
Yeah, so that was great. So I wanted to take a different tack this time around and play someone who was just a little bit more cerebral, had to do a little bit more thinking to sort of make the game work.
And was not
then
very strong.
Yeah, I mean, he came out as like the detective, the person in mystery scenarios that the party all goes, Gordon's going to solve this.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
Inspector Gordon.
Inspector.
pretty cool.
I'm trying to remember when did we actually start rolling on the first episode? Was it November of 2023?
I think
It was
so.
like November, December 2023.
So I think what was going on at that time in my life was I was going through a lot of like self-doubt. And so I think Fran weirdly, I mean, one, she is a harkening back to all of my like service jobs. But also I think I was really struggling with feeling super confident. And I think Fran was a way for me, even if it wasn't like conscious, to explore a character who does not doubt their capabilities. Yeah. And who just like knows that she is capable of, you know, the things that she knows she's good at.
Yeah.
And she's not good at everything, because no one is.
No, but I love
Damn
that.
close.
I actually love how that comes out in those moments where Fran can't do something.
Yeah.
Those like, I don't know what this key is moments. It's because like, yes, we make a bit out of it and become a beautiful runner in the show. But like, Fran never sweated it. She's just like, oh, that's one of those things that I'm not good at. I'm good at other stuff though.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, I'll rely on community for this. No worries.
Absolutely.
Like, you still live in that frustration.
Yeah.
But ultimately, that frustration isn't from a lack of confidence.
Yeah. Like, I think Fran doesn't feel shame about asking for help. Good. But I think she just sometimes like forgets to.
Yeah, she forgets that it's available to her.
Yeah, she's like, oh, right, people. I think like my character development style has really changed a lot over especially like I'm so grateful in the fact that in the last 2 years, I think I've gotten to play more D&D in 2 years than I got to play in like the entire length of time I've been playing D&D total.
In the 2 years that you've been getting into D&D, I think you've played more D&D than anyone else I know. And I've been playing for a long time.
Yeah. I was playing D&D last night. Yeah, it was
You're
so
crazy.
fun.
You're so crazy.
I love it so much. I got to do a panel during WonderCon about identity, gender identity and stuff in TTRPGs. And like, I think D&D in its own weird way has been my opportunity to explore femininity in a way that I think I was not permitted to in my life, because growing up a mixed race Black Hispanic woman, I think I was inadvertently masculinized by society, because, you know, there are these societal expectations that a Black woman is just very strong and very capable and doesn't need help from anybody and like has to perpetuate this independence. Yeah. And I think on some level, I never really figured out how to do quote unquote femininity correctly, which like there is no way to do femininity correctly.
Yeah, and also I think you're doing great.
I was going to say, you're killing it.
Thanks, y'all. But yeah, so I think like the consistent thing I've found is I have almost zero impulse to play a male character ever. I think I've only played a male character maybe twice.
I'm going to go ahead and say same.
Yeah. Like, so just on its face, yeah, I think I really like to explore this soft feminine thing in all the characters that I play. Somebody told me the other day that I'm princess coded.
Yes. Yes.
Hell yeah.
100%.
This is slightly a tangent, but like while we're here loving Vault of Spire of Secrets, you got to look up the Legacy Warlock, which is like, what if your Warlock patron was a She-Ra sword and you magical girl transformed?
I was going to say, you are princess coded. You are She-Ra princess coded.
Yeah.
I love that. I'm going to have to find that. I'm going to look that up now. That's awesome. Yeah. So Fran is yet another one in the cavalcade of womening so hard characters.
Yes.
Girl
that I
boss.
play. Girl boss.
Slay.
Lady monarch. I don't know.
Yeah, there you go. You got it.
Anyway, I am such a Fran stan.
Oh, yeah, 1,000,000%.
Fran stan.
I'm almost as big a fan of Fran as I am of Mayana. Like it's so close. I love Fran.
Thank you.
Fran stan should be called Fanatics.
Fanatics. Yes.
Vote now on your phones.
Yes. Pick the name. I love it.
Okay, so as far as like character types that I usually play, when I start building characters, I usually start thinking about like those responsibility, relationship, ideal bonds type stuff. So the two general sides that I play are either neurotic, like JJ, because yes, that is like me channeling my own stuff, but also like I love learning the rules of TTRPGs. I'm usually the note taker, so it like usually works out as far as like me as a person that type of character meshes well.
Whenever we need a rules lawyer, I literally turn to Lynn.
And I try to be fair and judicious with it.
You shouldn't. It should always be against me.
But yeah, like, because I like mechanics, and so like playing with mechanics, it's like I don't want to play soccer if I can pick up the ball kind of thing. Like I want to be able to play in that world. So that kind of helps me with that. But then the other side are characters who are trying so damn hard to be carefree, and they realize that that is not a way to live. And sometimes that just happens because, like, I'll play with groups of people and I'm like, oh, other people are being the class clown. Like, I can't be the class clown. There's too many of us. And
Usually it's Bex.
and it's like, this clown car is getting kind of tight.
Yeah, Bex is like the human embodiment of jester privilege.
That's true. So, yeah, JJ very much falls in line with the types of characters I usually play because I find that stuff interesting and compelling. So,
Me too.
Yeah.
All right, you got one more?
So our final question today is sort of inspired by not so much Asher's question, but just the fact that Asher and I are friends, and we both play in a Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition campaign where we play as Pokemon trainers. I want to know what all of your characters' primary partner Pokemon would be, please.
oh my gosh. Okay.
Gosh.
Okay, I'm having trouble remembering the name, so let me just look this up.
Yeah,
really
do you ever
fast.
get asked a
That's
question
fine.
and then forget every Pokemon ever?
Yeah, it's like, name a Pokemon. And you're like,
Name a woman.
name a woman.
Name a woman.
I actually know both. I know them in my bones. So the first option would be Bulbasaur. Because obviously full garden
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
at any point.
Full garden. Can't lose.
I thought you were just sucking up to me because my favorite Pokemon's Bulbasaur.
No, great. Though, tell everyone at home what you bought at WonderCon.
Oh my gosh.
I bought several pieces of Bulbasaur merch.
Jordy bought some too.
Really?
He got a painting of a bunch of Bulbasaurs, but they're different vegetables.
That's
Oh, you
what
mean,
Nisha
you
got.
mean the playmat that's under
my
the Scarlet that we're
yeah.
currently recording on? I bought it as a Magic the Gathering playmat.
Yeah, they really had your number.
Oh, man, I was so dead set on not spending any money on any merch. You know, we're all going through it. And I really need to save some money to fix my car, maybe.
Donate the Patreon.
Donate to $5 to our Patreon. But I saw that, and it was a cornucopia of different Bulbasaurs with different fruits on their back, all playing around, being adorable on a Magic the Gathering playmat. And I went, fuck, they got me.
They got your number.
And then also my partner and our production manager, Erin, also bought me an acrylic key charm that is a Bulbasaur with boba tea in its back. It's a Bulbasaur.
Oh, that's great.
Obsessed.
Oh, love
Hey,
you,
love you,
sexy.
sexy.
Gay.
Okay, so it'd either be Bulbasaur, strong contender, or so from I remember this, man. Talk about the things that are like burned into your core from childhood. There's an original Pokemon season where they encounter a Pokemon who's cooking out in the wild, and it's either I think Cubone or Farfetch'd.
I think it's a Farfetch.
It's Farfetch'd, right?
Farfetch'd always has a leak.
Yes,
Yeah.
a leak.
Well, that or the dog that's also
Fido.
bred.
Fido.
Fido.
No, it wasn't Fido.
No, I'm saying
no.
for Gordon.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
assigning you Fido.
Got it.
Assigned Fido at birth.
Yeah, Fido's like I only know the original 150.
Yeah, that's so fair.
USF.
Yeah, there's a dog that's bred.
Yeah. I'm going to show it to you, actually.
I'll
You're
take
gonna see it and you're gonna be like, yeah.
Okay, so either Bulbasaur or Farfetch'd.
Or Farfetch'd or Fido.
And we're gonna
And two
find
have
out.
F in the name.
Oh, that's fucking. His ears are bagels. That's fucked up. God, that's amazing. Yeah, I mean, it has to be that. It has to be Fido.
And its name is still BG for Bagel Guy.
God. Okay.
I
well.
still think about when we said big guy for the first time and Ian hit the octave that I was
That was like a whistle tone.
it was
Yeah.
gorgeous. It was gorgeous.
I do wish the audience could have seen your face, too.
it was so good.
Okay, Pokemon.
Sorry,
okay.
Pokemon. Okay, it has to be Gardevoir.
Oh,
Yeah, there's no other answer.
I would also assign
Gorgeous.
Tinkaton to you.
Tinkaton.
It's a little pink girl with big hammer.
Wait, make me
Yeah, I'm
see it.
So
going to
good.
keep assigning
I
people
love
newer
it.
generations.
I love it. The later
Yeah,
gens.
you're like up on the Pokemon.
Tinkaton. Oh my god. Oh
Okay, but make her purple and it's accurate.
Yeah, well, the
she's
hammer is purple,
tinted
and
to it. Oh my God.
if I
Wait,
remember correctly, the hammer is built from the armor from Corviknight.
Yep. It's
my
built
God.
out of the remains and armor of its enemies.
That is incredible.
And that feels...
It's
feels
fairy
Fran.
and steel type, which is that's not
That's-
Fran. I don't know what it is.
I know.
Oh my God, she's the cutest thing I've ever seen.
So you pick your partner Pokemon at the beginning of your journey, and then I come along
And go,
from the
"Hold on."
magistrate's office, and I go, and here's another one.
Here's your government-assigned
Here's your
Pokemon
government
partner.
assigned Pokemon partner.
Ibra, JJ?
God.
First of all, Ibra would have a fighting type lineup.
Yeah.
100%.
Just 100%. And I think that's what I'm struggling with right now is like, who would be the main companion? Who would be, because so many of them I look at and I'm like, oh, that's more monk than warden. And so I keep going back to Zamazenta, which is the shield line, the shield wolf.
I love
Yeah.
that thing. That thing rocks.
Yes.
Is Machop
Absolutely.
in your consideration at all?
Yes,
Yeah.
100% Machop.
I feel
actually-
like Machamp is
Machamp, thank you.
Mubarak's primary Pokemon.
Oh, that's
feels right.
dead on.
in Ibra's lineup, there's a lot of others like that have been maybe other mentors' primaries, but I do think that Ibra's primary is Zamazenta.
Wow.
I love that.
And picking a legendary feels so Ibra as well.
Right? It's so rude.
That's so funny. Okay, so I had two
Okay.
that I think would make sense. The one that was the most on the nose, I think, would be Clink, who evolves into Clang, who evolves into Clink Clang. That's just a bunch of gears.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of gears. The
Clink Clang.
other Pokemon that I thought that's more traditionally a partner Pokemon would be Eevee.
Oh my God, yes, because
Yes.
oh, it's so good.
So those are the two that I'm like.
No, you all said that like it was an obvious thing. Can you tell me more about Eevee?
So one, Eevee is cute as fuck and a
they
perfect
certainly
Pokemon. But specifically, I think the big thing with Eevee for most people are all the evolutions, right? So everyone has like their favorite evolutions, but I
Sylveon.
think, thank you,
Or
Trans.
Umbreon.
Trans.
Yep, maybe.
But I think that the pressure to evolve is
Yeah.
kind of like as like a culture of Pokemon, I think is really interesting. And I just have a feeling that JJ would sympathize with that.
Yeah. I
And
think
also
so.
like specifically like try to offer this partner Pokemon. I'm developing a whole AU here apparently as I'm speaking.
Excellent.
Like having a partner Pokemon that is Eevee and like specifically like I won't ever pressure you to evolve. Like you get to choose.
Yeah.
If that happens.
so
but-
Espeon or Umbreon because of the friendship score.
Yeah, probably. And so yeah, those are the two Pokemon that I think.
Interestingly, Clink feels very booba to me.
Very.
Clink is actually Booba. Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
Oh, we're
Yeah.
back. We're back in it. Okay, final part of this question. What Pokemon type do you think the new Prosper Gym would be?
Wow. New Prosper.
Like as a whole city. Oh my god. Okay.
Yeah, like the new Prosper Gym on the road to the Elite Four, and it's got some type of Pokemon gym. And what do you think?
Is it in the upper or lower city?
Well, in the video game, obviously there would be an upper Prosper Gym and the lower Prosper Gym, and you need both to get to the Elite Four.
Yes.
Upper
Yeah.
Prosper for me, Psychic.
Ooh. I was gonna say Ghost.
Ghost, pretty good.
I was thinking lower Prosper would be Ghost.
Yeah, either one, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I would think lower Prosper Rock.
Yeah.
Oh, I like it.
yeah.
Rock and Steel.
'Cause the
Yeah.
mines and
Because
such.
the mines.
And then upper Prosper flying.
Yeah, or Electric.
Yeah.
Wow, there's so many
yeah,
good
there's so
options.
many good options.
If they're paired, I like Stone and Electric.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so too. Because
Oppositional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so good. Yes.
Yeah, that's
and also
pretty good.
ironic because the upper one would be weaker to the lower one.
Yeah.
Union together strong.
Union strong.
Well, fantastic. I'm going to be thinking about Pokemon living in New Prosper all week
Yeah.
now. Thank you so much for this, for joining me in this
Separate
beautiful question.
side podcast that's just the same, but we have Pokemon now.
You mean every podcast what I want it to be? Do I want to hear any white man go on and be like, I think the economy, and have someone go back to him, Pika Pika?
Yes.
and
I would
watch and
listen.
see those clips
like
on TikTok.
Like the world of Detective Pikachu, I want to be in that so bad.
I know. I want to work at Goldenrod Radio Tower.
Yeah.
That's just my
Of course.
thing. Anyway, before we
Of
get
course
lost in
you
someone
would.
else's world, let's get back into our own. Thank you so much for listening to
Thank
the Detour.
you.
Thank
We'll be back
you.
with you with a regular story episode in a couple of weeks.
We love you.
We love you so much. Till then, goodbye. The Wandering Path was created by me, Misha Stanton, and produced by Bex Taylor Klaus, Lynn Rafil, Mayana Barron, and me. The story was game mastered and sound designed by me, Misha Stanton. It was played and performed by Bex Taylor Klaus, Lynn Rafil, Mayana Barron, and Ian McEwen. Cover art by Lynn Rafil, transcript assistance by Darby Summers, and music courtesy of the Independent Music Licensing Collective. Our production and house manager is Erin Bark. If you like what you're listening to, please tell your friends and let them know where to find us. Our website is wanderingpathpod.com, where you'll find links to subscribe and follow us wherever the path leads. We're also on Patreon, patreon.com/wanderingpathpod. We're so grateful for anything you can do to help us keep making this show. Thanks for wandering with us. Till next time.